moving to the back, now here's the part that can really really hurt you. We got the MPU board, and Bally and Stern, you notice over here, we got the driver board. We got a Stern driver board and we got a Bally MPU board. Stern and Bally are interchangeable with a lot of their boards, with the exception of some jump rings sometimes. And the Stern did have what they call an MPU 200, which is a faster clock board that's not compatible. But just keep in mind, do your research. There's a lot of websites dedicated to it on being able to interchange those boards. Now this is where the battery normally would be, and it is in really, really great shape. I don't see any corrosion here along the bottom, which is normally, it's very rare to find an original board that's not corroded. And this, when they're corroded, it actually will travel up into these, and you'll have to replace these connectors. You have to scrape all the corrosion off, grind it off, and hopefully your repair kit fixes it. So that's good. If you're not comfortable working on these, they do make a replacement for about 200 bucks. You drop in. So if you find one is battery acid damage, say I'm not going to work on it. If you're not comfortable with board work, start with the driver board. This is what fires all the solenoids. Those caps have to get replaced. High voltage may need some work, and the headers almost always need to be resoldered. And there's some updates that we have to do to the backside. I'm going to pull that connector off, and sure enough, that pin is burnt. And they almost always will have a burned pin there, and you also might have some burned pins here. That's the 5 volt. It's an update, very simple. You add 3 jumpers to the back of this board, you won't have that problem anymore. If the housing is good enough for us to jam a new pin in there, we'll do that. Otherwise, we're probably going to end up replacing this connector. Overall, boards are in great shape. A Stern board, I actually have a Bally board I'm going to be putting in here. So moving over, I got a few boards on the bench to talk a little bit about. This is a Stern out of a, let's check, it's an MPU 200, so it's the same board as, it's just the faster version, but the MPU 200 is out of this is out of a Flight 2K, or it has Flight 2K ROM. It's actually out of a big game, and this is a part that's bad on there I need to order. I went through and you can see the acid damage, where it ate away the traces, and the battery was originally soldered in. Now this has been repaired, and it's a job I did a while ago, so it may not be the best work. So Scott, you know what, you know not to call me on this. But you can see all the work, all the shiny solder, all the stuff that's been replaced, including the RAM chip down here. And I socketed that with some machine pins. They single inline machine pins do work real well when you have battery damage, because you can get on both sides with a tester and solder iron in order to clean those up. Backside, you can also see some of the areas I've done some work on it. This one is Boots Flaky, big game. So needs a little bit of work still, but good thing to have in my bag. I want to show you, here is the Bally driver board. So if you go back a little bit in the video, you can see the Stern. They very similar layout. The chips are always similar. There's a few different versions, of course, of each of these boards throughout the generations. But in here we have our high voltage section here. This is going to get cleaned up and we're going to end up in the game. So that's the high voltage important use for the displays. So if you replace them all with LEDs displays, you can pull the fuse out. You don't even have to repair that. This is a newer Bally board from mid-80s. It's from a motor dome, and the high voltage section looks a lot different. This one has had the high voltage section rebuilt. We got a new high voltage cap, a new 5 volt cap, and I don't believe this needed any updates because they fixed the problems on this board with the voltage. But there's some jumpers we're going to add to this board. On the Bally, I'll show you later. One thing is with the diodes, the 1N4004s. There's 5 of them on here. I don't use those. If I see 1N4001 through anything, I always just use 1N4007s. I buy them by the 200, and I use them anywhere because they're the same characteristics except for capable of taking a larger voltage shock. I want to call your attention to one more thing on the Bally boards. You notice the serial number for the whatever game it was plugged into, originally shipped with, is on here. That's EXE6666. And if you're not aware of what that means is that the 6666 is the serial number of the game. Before there was electronic and solid state, Bally did electronic, or they did the 2 letters of the game. So that is a board that was originally shipped in a Xenon. So EXE is the electronic, they mean it's an electronic game, not EM, Xenon. So that's a Xenon game, so EXE. So original Centaur would have been ECE. So if you see any of those, you know what it originally was shipped in. Now a lot of operators swap boards around. Another thing I noticed is a lot of the Xenons had the blue headers. I don't know why. I saw them mostly in Xenons, but it was just kind of a interesting side note. If you've seen that before in other games with a different serial number, please make sure to comment down below our video, and I'd like to hear about it. And then I'm going to do the updates to the driver board that I mentioned. Well, I'll take some pictures when they're done. But we want to do the standardized updates. Those are simple jumpers. It's going to take me 10 minutes to put some wires on the back. It's going to protect those headers from burning in the future. It's going to even out my 5 volts. Now, if you have a board you're putting into a baby Pac-Man, do not do those. Do some research. There's a lot of websites out there dedicated to these standard updates.